Currently in the story, the Blue Lock program is very popular in Japan after beating the U20 Japanese team with Itoshi Sei, one of the new Gen 11 midfielders. You can make the argument that Sei wasn't trying, but that's a topic for another video. In this video, we're going to be going over 4 players who wasted their potential in Blue Lock. Now, these 4 players are no longer in the program and were eliminated, because if you're still in the program, you still have a chance. Like, for example, Hiyori during the Bastard Munchen Ubers game. Now, we're going to start this list off with number 4, Asai Naruhaya. Naruhaya ended up making it farther than anyone else on the list, passing the entrance exam and the first selection on Team Z. In the second selection, Naruhaya ended up teaming up with Nishioka Hajime, who is known for being Aomori's Messi and was ranked 29, and Baru Shoi, who scored 10 goals in the first selection and was ranked 18th. Surprisingly, Naruhaya was ranked 38th, which must have meant that he did really good against Blue Lock Man in the shooting exam. And the 2 second selection games that Naruhaya lost, his team scored 4 points out of the 5 needed to advance. In the first match, Naruhaya's team lost Nishioka Hajime over Baro because Baro was too selfish and would have disrupted the balance of the team. Most likely the team that they lost to was Nico's team, because team chemistry is something that Nico would worry about. And then in the final game that Naruhaya played, he lost Baro to Isagi and Nagi. In that game, we definitely got to saw Naruhaya's ego start to develop, because he was the one that challenged Isagi and he was in his head all game.
Naruhaya, don't hold back.
Goes without saying.
Baro did score all 4 goals, but Naruhaya was a big part of that, getting into Isagi's blind spot and playing good defense on Isagi. The one thing that's surprising about Naruhaya is that he's one of the youngest players in Blue Lock, being 15 years old. For example, Baro's 18 years old and Isagi is 17 years old. And a player that's the same age that you can compare is Nico, who is also 15 years old. I'm sure if Naruhaya had more time to develop his skills, he'd be able to create goals on his own with his off-the-ball movement and his ability to get into players' blind spots. Number 3 on my list is Namioka Ryo. This character is from episode Nagi, the spin-off manga, which will be turning into an anime movie at some point this year. Ryo is a very overconfident player, and his weapon is his physique, so he would be like an overconfident Tokimitsu. He played for one of the best high school soccer teams in Japan, Aomori Dodada, and he starts off the series very confident in his abilities, but then he gets destroyed against Nagi and Ryo's private school team. I feel like if he was still in Blue Lock, he would be more used as a defender in the U20 World Cup. A big reason why Ryo got eliminated was because he was being stubborn, because the only players he was going after was Nagi and Ryo. Now, I think we should ask ourselves, would we be better off with an overconfident Tokimitsu or a timid, scared Tokimitsu? I think offensively Ryo is better, but defensively Tokimitsu would be better. Another player you could compare Ryo to is Kunigami, but I feel like Kunigami would be a better offensive weapon, and Ryo would be a better defensive weapon than Kunigami. I would see maybe Ryo barely making the top 23 or not making it at all if he was in the Neo Egoist League. At number 2, I have Hibiki Okawa. Okawa is a very underrated and mostly forgotten player, and the reason for this is because he was eliminated in the first selection after Nico scored more goals than him. I think Okawa was probably in one of the worst positions, because the first 2 teams they played was Team V and Z, and those were the 2 best teams in their group. And talent-wise, Okawa could definitely outscore Nico, but with Nico's tactics, it was inevitable that Okawa would get eliminated. Nico could have easily gotten the team against Okawa because he couldn't outscore Team Z and Team V. But the reason for this is because he would go on a solo run. But the reason why they would go on these solo runs is because they would stall time, so time would run out. This was Nico's tactic, but unfortunately it didn't work. But you could easily put the blame on Okawa and have the whole team against him, which would give Nico an opportunity to score a bunch of goals and move on to the second selection. Now, in the first selection, Okawa did score that 1 goal against Team Z, which is more goals than anyone else on this list. But he could have scored more goals than that. Since it's unknown how many goals Okawa scored, we only know that it couldn't have been more than 4 goals. Hibiki Okawa is known as Seno's star player, which was pointed out by number 1, Ryosuke Kira. Kira was introduced right away in the series and was known as the jewel of Japanese soccer. And Kira is definitely the most most talented player on this list since he was already invited into the U18 Japanese team before he even got into Blue Lock. There definitely seems to be something up with Kira though. On the outside, he seems to be a very humble guy who cares about his team, but on the inside, there seems to be something more with his character. A dark side, rooted in his desire to get what he wants and win. There's definitely a very competitive side to Kira. In the beginning of the series, it seems he doesn't want to do Blue Lock because he wants to help his team win at Nationals. But what I think is he didn't want to risk not making the U18 Japanese team since he was already guaranteed a spot on the team. And that's why we see him hesitate to run with all the other players. Not because he's a nice guy and cares about his team, it's more of him weighing his options. We saw that real competitive Kira once he got eliminated from Blue Lock. We saw Kira drop the act and straight up disrespect Igagori and Isagi.
This is bullshit. My career's over. And it's only because I lost in some childish game? I'm the jewel in the crown of Japanese soccer! No way you think Igaguri and Isagi are more talented than me!
Kira, in my opinion, is the only player on this list that is guaranteed to make a comeback in one way or another. I believe it's going to be dual citizenship that's going to bring Kira back, and I made a video a while ago about why and how Kira could make his return to Blue Lock. You guys are definitely welcome to watch that video if you would like. But back to the topic at hand, I think that Kira will make a return with Okawa using dual citizenship to rival Blue Lock in the U20 World Cup playoffs. The reason why I think this is because the only players who got eliminated to give Isagi dirty looks was Okawa and Kira. And both these players must know each other somehow, since in the beginning when they walked into the Blue Lock room, Kira was mentioning how he's Sinnoh's star player. So I feel like this is all foreshadowing something in the future, and maybe they'll prove why Blue Lock doesn't just make talent better, but it can also waste talent. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys soon in the next video.
Ryosuke Kira! Lock off!
Oh, Bachira, you saw him from out of nowhere. He singled me out. This isn't fair. Kira.
Oh, you better watch out. I'll see your bitch ass in the World Cup.